Evening, everyone. It's Sunday night at 10 p.m. It is the APAT show, and tonight we've got a World Series of Poker special with none other than Super Matt Pitt. Matt, how are you?
Good, thank you, Des.
Good to have you on it. It's been a little while.
Yeah, it has. It's got all very, very fancy since I was last on. It's I think someone's been learning some video editing by the looks of things.
Well, we're trying to put the GG money to good use. You know, that's the way it is. We try and do stuff like that. But tonight, Matt, right, seriously, a big night for the Brits in Vegas, right? You're a Poker News man through and through. We were talking just before we went live in the stream. You haven't been to Vegas or done the live updates, right? Done the hard yards since 2014?
Yeah, when Martin Jacobson won the 10 million one. So,
Wow.
yeah, I stepped away from the live reporting world then.
Do you miss it at all? I mean, obviously a seriously busy summer over there for Poker News. Updaters, you're missing the action?
I don't sometimes. I sometimes miss it. It is a very difficult, thankless job, really. You know, people only ever give you any feedback when you've misspelled something or done, something weird and wonderful in the updates, which is quite easy to do when you're doing 14-hour days. But it's I've missed it a little bit this year because I've been doing a lot of shadow editing behind the scenes every day, and it's pretty good when you see like records being broken and and obviously like today when you've got two Brits at the main event final table, it's a special time. It's like going to a World Cup final, if you're a football fan, but poker wise, it's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, the World Series of Poker does seem to be the one festival that just brings everybody back together again. Poker seems to be in rude health, Matt. The numbers, over the last year or two post-COVID have been fabulous, just going up and up. They don't seem to be plateauing too much, which is nice to see, particularly in the live arena, which is, of course, our big interest. But, there's events all over the world, right? It seems like the community are drawn sort of left, right, and center. But the World Series of Poker does seem to draw everybody to Vegas, not necessarily to just play the World Series, because of course all of the casinos in Vegas now, it would seem, put on brilliant schedules for the summer months when the community comes to visit, as it were. So record numbers, as we said, in the World Series of Poker main event, over 10,000 players. I mean, 2006, Jamie Gold did the big number. What was that, 8,600 or something like that at the time?
8,773.
Something like there. Spot the Poker News journo, right? We saw those numbers, obviously unmatched since. Did it seem reasonable to expect that poker would come back to this degree?
Well, it's quite funny because before every series, Poker News does the staff predictions. So it's like, how many women do you think will win a bracelet? Who'll do better in the grand or thingy? And me being a typical glass half empty Yorkshireman, Wen says, "What will the attendance be of the main event?" I looked at all the cost of living crisis, crypto dropping like a stone, and I says, "It won't even get 7,500." And here it is, so 10,500 people.
Yeah, folks, we hope you enjoyed tonight's APAT show. Obviously, the expertise just isn't there. Our milk drinking Yorkshire man. What the hell is going on, Matt Pitt?
It's Sunday. I've got to be up at 6.
There you go. Man wins poker tournament. Right, Matt's got to sort that out in the morning. Man wins poker tournament. We can't wait. So main event, obviously 2 Brits in there. We're going to come back and talk about that. But there are Brits in other events that are taking place tonight. I put some of them in the posts that are promoting this through the APAT Facebook group earlier on today. We've got people like Paresh Doshi, who's got a great PLO record, in particular with APAT, going back over the years at WSOPs. Paresh is doing well. I think he's in the top 6 of the PLO event. You've got Jamie O'Connor doing super well in the, I guess, the six max event. Yanis Liparis, I see, is doing well in the 1500. Now Farrell is there as well. I think we saw Pads, not an APATer, but Pads well known in the UK community, is going deep in one of the events also. So a hell of a lot of stuff happening in Vegas tonight. We're going to try and touch on some of that as we go.
Yeah, I've just checked on Boz, Jamie O'Connor. He's still
Yeah.
chip leader. That event's in play. There's only 25 left, so he's
Yeah.
still he's
Well,
got like 500,000 chips more than everybody else.
I'd say, I mean, he's in good shape, and you would imagine, albeit with 25, there's 25 players left there. There's still a lot of poker to play, but Jamie O'Connor, Boz, he's got game, right? If anybody can close it, he has the potential to do so. So it'll be interesting to see how that one goes. Guys, the plan tonight is, I guess we'll go till 11:30, maybe 11:45, depending on how everything goes. The main event's going to kick off at 11. So at a point, we would expect people to want to go and watch that anyway, but we'll take a look at the first 30 minutes, 45 minutes of that. We're not going to be able to show it, of course. PokerGo are super, litigious as far as content is concerned, and rightly so. They pay enough to have it, I'm sure. So the stream would be taken down immediately if we showed some of it, but we can have it on in the background and talk through a couple of hands, particularly if we see Toby or Dean get involved early. So why don't we start there, Matt? If I just switch over to Twitter, right? So this is a post that's just gone out from the WSOP. Main event final table starts at 2 p.m. Vegas time, of course. That is 10, so it has just started, right? We're 6 minutes in, and they'll start to stream that from 11. So there is a delay in operation, and we're going to obviously respect that. They're expected to play down to 4 tonight, with the final 4 positions sorted tomorrow night. First question, better than the November 9 in your opinion, Matt?
Yeah, I saw why they did the November 9, to try to rustle up a little more interest, through the non-poker players. Like, I think when ESPN had it, I think that it was their idea.
Yeah.
But I'm an old traditionalist when it comes to stuff like this. It's at the end of the day, you've played with each other. It's 8 days now, I think, or 9 days. So a lot of them will have to then pause for 6 months or 5 months, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It just seems daft. It's like it should be finish it now and get it done and dusted and do it that way.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it tends to change the dynamic, doesn't it? That's what we were seeing with the November 9. The several month delay just had players going off and taking on coaches and stuff like that, and inevitably they lost their momentum and they came back as slightly different players in many cases. It seemed so nice to have it. Nice to have it playing out. Would it be even better to see it played out as a single final table as opposed to breaking it down overnight?
I think I'd prefer to see it like that, but the problem is because the structure's so good,
Yeah.
it's you're talking like ridiculous. It'd be ridiculous hours. I did a tournament years ago in San Remo for EPT, and there were still heads up at 6:30 in the morning,
Yeah, that's crazy.
and it's like,
Yeah.
and that were playing for like obviously good prize money. But when I think difference here, if you manage to get heads up and it was 6 in the morning, and it's like a 6 million difference between first and second,
Yeah.
that I wouldn't want to be in that position where I'm flagging physically and mentally,
Yeah. No,
knowing
no,
it's
very,
not
very
peanuts, is it?
right. Yeah, it's not peanuts at all. And it's not just the players, right? You've obviously got broadcasters, cameramen, you've got tournament organizers, dealers. There's a whole, posse of people attached to that, not just the players. So let's look at this final table. So we've got it in seat order here on the screen, Matt. Who of these guys, we'll come back to the Brits, but outside of the Brits, who of these guys do you know? Do you have any sort of insight into any of these players?
Only slightly the Spanish guy. One, I don't have to say his name, so I won't offend him.
Kiras, maybe?
He's actually this. He used to be a Team PokerStars pro back in the day.
Right, yeah.
Obviously representing Spain, and obviously when the landscape changed a little bit, he disappeared. Seems to have a lot of good results round about up to 2010, 2011, which and then just seemed to disappear. But apparently, he's the son of an old online poker legend.
Is he
I don't know
really?
if you know a band called Viet Cong 01,
Yeah.
which I remember him from when I first got
Oh, do
in,
you
and
really?
it were an absolute head case of a player. Back when
Ah.
someone re-raised, they had to have aces. He were going crazy with like 6-3 off and stuff. So he's probably got. I wonder if
Oh.
he's got a little bit of that in him.
Well, it's
And
interesting. He listen on this guy. He might have a little bit of that on him because he went from 130, maybe 140 million chips down to whatever he's starting with tonight, 68 million. Just through a series of 4 mad hours where he felt he needed to be involved in a lot of hands in the last day of play. So there's obviously that element of personality, shall we say, with him.
yeah, he's been. I'm just looking on one of PokerNews profiles now. He's crushed it all the way through from day one.
He has, yeah. It's very impressive.
He's like been top 80. Worst he's been was day three when he was 88th out of 1500. That's the lowest he's been throughout the entire tournament.
Yeah.
So it's probably a healthy dose of run good in there as well. Because some people have a bit of a sun run. It's the
Yeah.
perfect tournament to use your one time.
Well, it's obviously in the DNA, right? So his dad apparently won the Sunday Million twice and has won every other big tournament on Stars. So that just lends to credence to what you were saying about him being an online crusher in the earlier days of online poker. And geez, I don't know about you, but it's funny to be talking like that. It's funny to be thinking of an early online crusher. His son is now in his 30s, crushing or was crushing at this main event.
Yeah,
Incredible
thanks for that.
stuff.
That's making me feel nice and old.
Well, I'm thinking exactly the same. I can't believe it that somebody's got a son who's middle aged and basically doing the business here. It's incredible stuff. You also had a small tete-a-tete with Mr. Yachtman, the German, as I understand it.
Yeah, the beloved Mister Mister Yackman, because when you do live reporting on things like the EPT, a lot of the players have like an ID card next to them that you can cross reference with
Oh yeah,
a database with a spreadsheet that's updated, so that you can obviously because there's a lot of unknown faces in there. WSOP, because it's so big, doesn't have that. So very first hand I reported on in Vegas back in 2013, I think it was. I saw this big hand go down on like in first level. I scribbled it all down. Didn't have a clue who he was. So I'm like, excuse me, sir. Like, I work for Poker News. Can I have your name? And he just kind of like sort of puffed his chest up and he's like, I'm Jan Peter Yachtman. I am a world champion. And I'm like, sorry, mate, I don't know. And he's like, yes, $10,000, pot limit Omaha champion, 20 something or over. And I'm like, well, sorry, sir.
ouch,
And
not good.
yeah, I just kind of can't forget him after that. I've got a good memory for faces, but once you get a telling off from a staunch German, it kind of sticks with you for a little while.
Stuck in your brain. So let's talk about the
But
chip
he
rates.
could, he could, sorry, he could be a dark horse though because he's from a PLO background, so you'd imagine he's probably going to end up being more on the looser side of things. He's quite well off as well. He's a successful businessman,
Yeah,
so
75
you
million
know,
chips, Matt Yachtman. And yeah, you're right. He didn't seem to be overwhelmed at any point. Sort of in some of the play that I saw leading up to this final table, seemed to be pretty calm and taking it all in his stride. So experience I think will be beneficial to have
mhm.
tonight. How do you think somebody like Mick Hiras, if that's how we're pronouncing it, how do you think he's going to approach the first few levels here?
I'd imagine there'll be from past experience, all the WSOP final tables seem to start off really, really slow. It's a little bit of
Yeah,
feeling each other out a little bit. They've all now had a full day off rest, where before they've been doing, grinding non-stop for, if you've played a day 1D, then you've played 6 days non-stop basically. And although they do finish at a reasonable time, because they're so deep stacks, obviously every decision's amplified. So and
yeah,
obviously, as you get deeper, it's like I thought it was crazy how like day 7, everyone were guaranteed like $300,000, and it's like you know, that in itself can be quite tiring when you know that you've got
Yeah.
one hand on what was basically it's more than life changing money. You know,
Oh yeah.
if you're intelligent enough about it, it can be almost generational. You know, their kids won't have to worry about their grandkids and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think the with Toby being quite short, he's only got 17 bigs. They'll probably it might be a little bit cagey at first, just because obviously he's looking to get it in, you know, sooner rather than
Yeah.
later, even with this really slow structure. So, but the guy, the chip leader, the Adam Walter, I don't really know much about him, but he's got a huge stack. Really, you know, he should be bullying at every single opportunity, really, especially because he's got two medium-sized stacks to his right in the Ukrainian guy and. Very odd. So I say very odd. It's Scottish, but you know he'll be a Brit. He's a Brit if he wins. He's a Scot if he doesn't.
Oh, that's fair enough.
Bit like Andy Murray.
Yeah, I mean, Adam Walton made his stack late on that final day. So you know, I think he's one who will potentially come in tonight feeling almost like he's got more to lose than he has to
Hmm.
win. Because if you're that far ahead of the rest of the field, you almost feel like you're a top three. You should be guaranteeing yourself top three. But as we know, that can change very, very quickly. So, you know, how does he play it? Does he put his stack to good use? It'll be really interesting to see. I'm not, you know, just having watched him, I'm not sure that he will. I suspect that Makiris will get involved quickly. What do you think Toby's approach is here? So obviously he's coming in with what 17 big blinds, as you said, just under 20 million chips. He is by a distance the short stack. But he's got incredible game. We know that. You know, obviously had a slow last day. But do you think he can take advantage of the fact that there will be a number of other players in that 30 to 40 million chip stack range who really want to see him go out first so that they can guarantee the first jump to a million?
Yeah, I think Toby is, with no disrespect to any of the other eight finalists, he's by far the best player at that table by a long shot. But obviously, he's very, very hamstrung at the moment. Where you know you could be best player in the world, but you're not going to,
Yeah,
you can't do any damage when you've got 17 big blinds. His first thing he'll be, you know, 'cause he's one double up away from being back in middle of the pack again. You know, and then if he gets to there, then he's going to be a real danger for the other stacks around him because he knows exactly what to do. You know, he'll avoid the big stacks and take on people who he can eliminate himself or at least completely decimate. So I think a lot will depend on how Toby fares early doors. If he manages to double up, I think it changes the dynamic of the final table because a lot of them will be worried about him. If he ends up being carded and down to push or fold territory,
yeah.
then I think you'll probably see the bigger stacks probably maybe try to attack him a little bit more.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to wait and see. And obviously, we've all got a bit of a special draw for Toby because, of course, he played quite a lot of APAT events back in his early days in poker. And, you know, I'm sure we would all love to see him take it, as indeed would the majority of people in British poker. But a large number of people would also like to see Dean Hutchinson take it down. Now, Dean is a Scot. I haven't come across him. Have you come across him on the circuit at all? Can you tell us anything about Dean?
I only know from when I used to look after the UK side of Poker News. I used to cash in quite a lot of like UK IPTs and things like that, and I know that he's very well liked amongst people like Dan Charlton,
Yeah.
um, and people like I want to say old school pros because they've been around for a while now, even though that obviously they're not in like your Doyle Brunson
They're still young.
territory, but the seasoned veterans of the UK world, and it seems to be very popular. Some of the people I've got on Facebook are really rooting for Dean. Um, so yeah, and I can only imagine what it'll be like in uh, amongst the Scottish contingent if he finds himself in the top four. Because there's quite a few Scots out there. I can only imagine what it'd be like if Niall Farrell and Ludo end up doing shoe bombs and stuff on
Oh
rail
yeah,
for
yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah, yeah. it would be. I tell you what, it'll be insane if either of these lads take this title, home, as it were, and
Mm.
be it England or Scotland. I don't think it'll matter to the UK poker circuit. How remarkable is it that there hasn't been a British winner of the World Series of Poker main event in all of the years that it's been running? That's insane, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is very strange, really. I mean, I suppose it's like you look at the actual number of British entrants and compared to the our American
Yeah,
cousins,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
it's there is that, and you know yourself, and tournament poker, especially one of a live one with normally when it's got 6 to 8 thousand people in, it's a crapshoot, right? You know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you need to really run ridiculously well, win all your all ins. You know, when you actually look at the amount of times these players will have been all in from day one, it's statistically not really possible. You
Yeah.
know, you can't lose. You know,
Yeah, so listen, I'd agree with you in principle, just from a pure hard numbers point of view in terms of starting number of entrants. But there's been a hardcore of, Brits, top pros that have played that event year in, year out. And there's been no shortage of British players that have gone deep, made final tables, been down the last two or three tables. It's just closing it out has been the problem. Every year, it feels like there's a well-known Brit in the mix come day 6, 7, 8. They're always there thereabouts. Do you think can we see a winner tonight?
yeah, like I say, I still think if Toby can double early or at least chip up a little bit early, he's the best player at that table by a considerable distance. And obviously, he's going to get people will start getting nervous with these pay jumps. But we were talking about pay jumps before we came on. They're not going to really matter to him because he's
Yeah,
probably got 8 or 9 pieces of different people. From event is very is like one. He's a huge
yeah,
winner online, huge winner live. You know, the money won't actually you know, come into his thoughts until it starts getting into, million jumps and 3 million jumps.
yeah. I mean, it's mad.
It was a similar story last year when I was talking to John Eames when he reached the final table, and you were saying that it didn't really matter which position he busted in, the early ones because it was a good payday. But once you start getting on to fourth place and third place, it's like, well, that's comfortable money. You can invest a lot of it. It can make you a lot more. I mean, don't get me wrong. Winning $1 million is fantastic, but there's not a huge when there's 12 million up top, it's it pales into insignificance, really. I mean, to be honest,
Definitely.
I'd be happy with 100 quid, but that's me.
I'm with you, Matt. I'm with you. Listen, I know there's a bunch of you out there. Simon is watching on YouTube on the big screen. That sounds pretty good, I have to say. Steve Forty's out there as well, again, talking about Dean Hutchinson and, will he be British if he wins the thing and Scottish if he loses, as you said, Matt. That could be the case. So if you've got any questions for Matt tonight in relation to all of the World Series of Poker action that is happening, as we come to the close of the series, a lot of Brits in action tonight, as we said, and we'll go on and talk about some of the others in a mo. Just get your questions in the chat box and we'll put them up on the screen and we will ask Matt for his views. Matt, one other for you here on the main event before we move on and talk about one or two other things. There are the payouts, right? So they're up there on the screen. So $12.1 million for first, 6.5, 4, 3, 2.4, and so on. A lot of people upset that it's a little top heavy. A lot of people upset that you can make the final table and not take a million. What do you think?
It should be everyone at final table should be a millionaire. I mean, I see why they want to do the 12.1, so it's the biggest
Yeah.
main event prize as well. But you could trim those if even if you wanted to keep the same paying top 15% or whatnot. I think that's what they've paid this year. The You could change them slightly and make you could quite easily make 100 grand up from them little bits and
Oh, yeah.
pieces
Well, I mean,
and
second
stick
could go to 6.4, couldn't he? I mean, just as a for
exactly, yeah,
example.
it's you could keep it as they are, make it 6.4 and everyone's a millionaire.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's you know that to me as well seems like a good marketing thing for WSOP. You know, we made 9 millionaires at final table rather than that. You know, it is a little bit silly, really.
Yeah. It's almost as if they wanted to have the final table where the first question to get answered is, you know, could ninth place, could that person, you know, wait it out and become a millionaire, right? So you're still playing for millionaire status when you start the final table, but that seems a little unnecessary. There's lots of other big messages around this this event and this final table without having ninth as a guaranteed millionaire. It does seem a shame. But
Yeah,
alas,
when you look at it, when you look at that payout table, it's pretty obvious they've taken 1 million, 100,000 off of ninth and give it to first. It's almost like they put it in a spreadsheet and gone, "Oh shit, it's same prize money as when Jamie
we can't
Gold
have
won it. We
this,
better take.
can't have that.
Where can we find 100 grand from?"
Oh, it's hilarious. Outside cracker. Right. Main event, right. So the main event is underway now. I mean, what do you think, Matt? Should we have a sneaky look in the updates just to see if anything's happening?
Yeah, we can have a little gander in.
Let's go on. Let's have a
Because I
look.
think they'll be updating on a delay as well for the stream.
Oh, is that what they're doing? Well, we'll soon find out. Like, if I put it up, if I just put let's do this again. We put the PokerNews app up. And again, guys, PokerNews, look, a magnificent site for live updates. Tonight alone, they're updating on 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 World Series of Poker events. And they had been updating on UKIP's Blackpool, which finished a little earlier on today as well. So, you know, you've got to get hold of the PokerNews app. PokerNews, a partner of APAT, of course. But if we have a look at the main event, get ready for the final table. So you're absolutely right. So although play will have started, they're not updating. So they must be updating in line with the stream, presumably.
Yeah, that's what they've tended to do on a couple of other events. Have been final tables have been streamed by PokerGo, and obviously you don't want to give spoilers away and stuff, so we might have to
Yeah,
wait for.
that's fair enough.
You know, I know they are updating because obviously I can log into the Poker News site. They've already played 5 hands,
Oh.
but obviously I can't give any spoilers. So
We have exclusive information in the background, but we can't give it to you. Oh, what a nightmare. All right, then. Well, let's go somewhere else for our fix. Let's have a look at the 2,500 mixed Omaha 7-card stud. Do we have any players in that? No, so that's down to 3. Right, so we're down to 3 there. They're playing in that one. Not
yeah, that needed that was meant to finish yesterday, but it basically
slow.
they ran out of time and players decided to call it a night. They actually, believe it or not, it actually got complaints on day one because the structure was too slow. And it were like, I've never heard poker players moan about a structure being too slow, but because it's split pot, they take forever anyway. And I
Yeah.
think like 300 or something people, look, 400 people turned up on day one, and it was like, oh shit, now how are we going to get rid of these?
It just sounds
So
like a
yeah,
painful experience for everyone, Matt. I've got to say, the closer, so the $1,500 closer, we're starting day 2. We did have some APATers and some Brits running well in this. So just having a look down these chip counts, let's see if we can see any of our guys.
doesn't look like there's many Brits or anything in there at the minute.
Yeah, they're I think we're down maybe in the 70s or 80s. There's Niall Farrell.
Al Farrell's still in there.
So Neil's got 905k. Michael Roseman. Don't know Michael?
Yeah, I know Michael.
Okay. Moorman's there. Oliver Beals is there. William, and I'm sure I saw Yanis Liparis was there as well. Sure, while he might be a little further up. But as you can see, ton of players left there. So it's only day 2. This must run for, I want to say 4 days.
I think it ends today, this one.
Oh, you're right. Look, it's down to 61 players.
Yeah, it's a bit of a fast structure.
Bloody hell.
It's a little bugbear of mine, the series, because when I did my 2,
Yeah.
main event finished and that was it. Everyone packed up and went home. Now there's events after the main event, and it's like
Yes.
that's not how it should be. You can't call an event the closer, and then it doesn't actually close the
There's
series.
other events after it. It's true.
Yeah, there's more events. It's like, what? Who came up with that idea?
You know, I was over at the I went to the final main event at Binion's, right? They played the final three tables in the bullpen. That was 2005, the year Hatcham won. And, that was like jammed. Binion's was absolutely jammed, as you would expect, for the closing of that World Series of Poker. But having gone to other World Series of Poker where, you get down towards the close of a main event and the Rio, for example, it was empty. It was just like a shell. It's sort of nice to see a series of events now in and around the final table. So it just keeps that buzz in Vegas, like there's a lot going on, even though the main event is coming to a close.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how tiny Binion's was.
It is
When I went
tiny.
to Vegas,
Yeah,
it was one of the first places I wanted to go. It was like a staff cafeteria.
yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
how did they manage to fit 800 people in here? 'Cause obviously I wanted to go because that's where Moneymaker won, and
That's
without
right.
him winning, I wouldn't have a job. So thanks, Chris. So I had to go see who was responsible for me slaving away in poker for the next 15 years. But yeah,
Uh,
it's proper,
yeah.
really, really tiny
It's
place.
like a tiny little poker room, like the Broadway Casino, just at the back of the casino there, the little card room. It was very, very tiny. It was indeed. So what else we got here? This is the six-handed. So this is with Boz Chip leading. So I think I saw that he knocked a guy out sort of right at the start of play today. Let's check in with Chips. So actually he slipped back. Well, he's probably level on where he was at the start of day. 3.3 million in chips. But Farid Jatan has just overtaken the lead there.
Yeah, there's some very good players in that still in that field. It's if it wasn't final table day of main event, Poker Go would have snapped this up
Yeah,
to
no
show
question.
these, especially
25
because
players left.
yeah, Helmuth's in there still.
He is. We'll go through them. So we got $1 million up top, 650K for second, 440K for third. So obviously this is a huge opportunity for Jimmy O'Connor to make some decent cash there. Just having a look at the chips. So if we go down to our bust outs today, so Albert Wynn, Jasbel Brar, Arani is gone, Obara is gone, Patschuk's gone. So Volkman's on 150K. You've got Taylor Power, you've got Schwett, Eric Baldwin, Felipe Ramos, Westbrook, Casey Brown, Turbo Wynn, Diebold, Berg. Here's Helmuth, 860K. So he's 60K up on his last update. I mean, Helmuth, he's won number 17 at this series. He claimed from a long time back that he'd win 24. Seems unlikely, but he's doing it, isn't he? He's continuing to propel himself forward somehow.
Yeah, he's obviously he's a very polarizing character, isn't he? He's at the tables, he plays up to the poker brat, and people either love it or hate it.
Yeah,
But I think I once says that I think he is the best player in the world against bad players.
yeah,
So like when he plays in these like 1Ks where you've got a lot of recreational people who don't really know, they're not thinking at the same level as like, you know, your Daniel Negreanu's and your superstars of the game. He just seems to be able to get chips off of them like
yeah.
almost super with like an almost supernatural ability, and people love to like. I think a lot of people donk the chips off to him because they want to bust Helmuth and see him cry like a baby, So they probably make some like suboptimal plays just so they can say, look, I managed to light the blue touch paper under Helmuth's
Was
ass and made him kick
absolutely
off.
fantastic. And did I see him there a couple of weeks back? He had a go at some guy who knocked him out. He absolutely blitzed him for having a weak starting hand or whatever it was. So Helmuth's still in there, guys. 860K. Bear in mind that Boz has 3.3 million. 25 players left in this one. Who else have we got? Stephen Chidwick.
Chidwick.
Yeah, 1.6 million. Dangerous player, right? He's due a big result this summer. I don't think he's had a big one.
I could do with him busting, to be fair, because I
Well,
think the person in the
fantasy
fantasy
poker.
pokers, I think he's got him. So I'm going to
Oh,
be anti-sweating Mr. Chidwick as much as I do like him.
that is That is a terrible thing to say for a Poker News writer of a
That's
British poker
obviously I'm
player.
impartial.
Yeah. Oh, it really sounded it there, Matt. It really sounded it. So, and there we go. Boz near the top there with 3.3 million in second place. But he'll want to win this one, won't he? I mean, 600K would be very nice. Thank you very much. I'm sure he won't say no, but you get down to the final 25 players, he'll want to win it.
Oh, definitely. And I can't remember. I think it was one of the years. I don't know if it was when I was there. I'm just going looking on the Hendon mob now because he final tabled one not very long ago, and I'm trying to see when it was because it wore his beloved Leeds United shirt. He
Yeah.
finished third in a 5K six-handed in 2019.
Well, while you're
So
saying that, Peter Wigglesworth's out there saying Boz, an avid Leeds fan. Exactly.
yeah. Yeah, so he came third, like I say, in 2019 in the 5K version of this and walked away with just under 318 grand, which obviously nice. But I think if you get that close to winning the bracelet,
Yeah.
it's probably the worst 318,000 he's ever won in his life, you know.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, he in our WCOAP online main event back in, I want to say 2020 or 2021. He I think he finished third. He took the bronze in the end, third or fourth. But he came on an after APAT show with Lee and myself, and he talks us through a number of hands and stuff. And there's just something about listening to poker players who are analytical and who really understand the game. There's just something about listening to their reasoning around how they play certain things. And he was super impressive. It was lovely to have him on. And you would hope, like to see Stephen Chuddick do well as well, of course, fantasy poker aside. But it would be lovely for Jamie O'Connor to take this one down. I've got a question for you, Matt. Steve asks, ask Matt, what opinion does he have on Daniel Negreanu's blog? I find his blog very honest. If you watch any other poker players' blogs, who does he watch? Do you have time, Matt? Do you watch any of the blogs?
I'm not overly watching. We do sometimes have to flick through in case there's any like stories that you can make from those blogs. Like if somebody drops some sort of bombshell. Um, I watched a lot on the ground when he first started doing them. I haven't really watched much this year. I actually predicted the ground would have a really good series, and he's kind of been quite disappointing as a series. He's had quite a lot of cashes, but not really threatened to take anything down. So I might actually go through and see some of them because, like you say, he's brutally honest. And at the end of the series, he'll always say, "Right, I've lost 1.6 million or something." He
Yeah.
doesn't hide his figures. One guy whose video blogs are quite good is Brandon Shields.
Yeah, Brandon, very good. Yeah.
Yeah, young British lad. He does like a
Friend
good
of the
mix.
show.
He does a good mixture of like content when he's at the
Yeah,
table, a lot of some analysis, which is in depth but kind of in layman's terms as well. So you
yeah,
can pick a few things up, and I do like Brandon. Whenever I see him deep in these talks, I'm like, he's one of those where you want one of the good guys to win. You
yeah,
see the same like if like the bad play, not the bad players as in Paul Liskill, like you bring Kenny's and people like that, your
yeah,
controversial characters winning stuff, and you're just like, why can't the good guy,
yeah.
text like Boz today, why can't he become a millionaire overnight? One of the legitimate good guys of the game.
Fingers crossed, right? Fingers crossed. Brandon, again, would agree with all of what you've said there, Matt. A really nice lad. He's been on this APAT stream. Lee and I have done another sort of stream with him for Seat Wide Open, something we were doing elsewhere. Lovely guy, and he's only really started to video blog over the last, I would say, year and a half to 2 years in particular. I think his brother's been at it for longer. Has grown quite a nice following on YouTube. But Brandon, it's gritty, it's to the point, it's worth following. Steve, if you were looking for somebody to follow, would recommend Brandon too.
Yeah, definitely.
No question about that. Let's switch over to the horse, Matt. So this is the $3,000 horse. We've got 175 players left in this one. Event 91. Stud high low 8 or better. Let me put this up. So this is the 2 minutes ago. Action was picked up on 4th Street in a hand between Randy Owell and Parish Doshi. So Parish is an APATer who's won a ton of medals with us. I'm not going to analyze those hands. Doshi checked Owell on 4th Street, who bet and Doshi called. Same action repeated on 5th. On 6th, there was Owell who took the betting lead. He also bet on 6th and 7th Street, getting a call from Doshi both times. Owell turned over that for flush, which was good for the pot. So Parish down to 109,000. So he lost 50k in that pot. But again, a player who has shown up in World Series of Poker leaderboards over the last couple of years, and he feels like somebody who, definitely flies under the radar. But he's got a really good horse PLO game, and he could nick a bracelet of that. I don't doubt. Brian Micon is leading that event at the moment with 245k. You've got the PokerStars Pro, if he's still the PokerStars Pro. Andrea Carey, the Brazilian, is up there. Ohel, who just took that pot from Parish Doshi, is in 3rd. Who else have we got?
You got Chad up there. That was the guy that he won. I think he won.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you got a horse with it. That's him who came back from like 3 bigs and ended up taking it down.
Wow. So, I mean, it's a stacked field. You got Victor Blom. I think I saw some of the old guys. I see Rob Hollink there. Crikey, Rob was playing like 25 years ago. Victor Ramden is there. So this is an experienced field, I would say. Brandon Shack Harris. Pads is in this one with 111k. So just 2k over Parish at the moment. Alan Kessler, who seems to have cashed everything at the World Series of Poker this year, but for an average of about 2k per cash. Just hasn't worked out. Just hasn't worked out in the big numbers. Jeffrey Alessandro. So stacked field. Parish Doshi in there, still 140 odd places to go. Payouts, well, 208k. Again, you wouldn't sneeze at it in a horse event, would you? You wouldn't say no to that.
No, definitely not.
We'd have that. So, that's going to be that's never going to finish today. That's going to go on for another day, I'd have thought, Matt.
Yeah, it's scheduled for 3 days, that one, so it'll finish on 17th. I'm because I've been doing a lot of the shadow editing. I'm kind of I'm like my days are completely mixed up because I'll start shadow editing tomorrow on while these events are closing, and obviously they're like 10 hours behind. So I don't even know what day it is half at time. That's why I'm looking forward to that. The curtain coming down on the WSOP. As much as I do love it, I can get back to some sort of normality. Know what day it is. Can start speaking in British summertime again rather than having to send email requests in all different time zones. Get back to normal.
Getting back to normal. The sound of that is nice, and normal for us. Matt, I've just put him up on the sort of the little bottom of our screen, the little roller there. Tour dates remaining, guys. So most of you will be aware of these, but if you're looking for a live event to play post Vegas, we're next up at G Casino in Coventry for our Open. That is followed by the WCOAP. All of the details for that are out now. Played over 6 days at DTD, late August. Some incredible events there. Get in. Make sure you lock up your seat because these will sell out early, I have no doubt. And as you can see, a full schedule then for the remainder of the year coming as well. So, Matt, look, why don't we return back to Twitter this time? And just a couple of things that I've sort of bookmarked that I thought were interesting. See if you've come across any of this stuff. So the first one is from Cody Daniels, right? So Cody says, does anyone know how I can get a hold of Adam Walton? So the guy who's chip leading the main event. He's the one who holds the Pirate Rock. I passed on. Have you come across this Cody Daniels story?
No, that's first I've seen of it. Okay. I guess he must have busted him and give him his lucky charm or something.
Yeah. Now, as I understand it, he has cancer or some terminal illness. Don't have all of the details, but
is that guy?
That's the guy, and he passed on his card guard, which was this little Pirate Rock, and I think it was no more than a here you go to whoever knocked me out. Here, you take this. Hope you get to the final table. But the guy who knocked him out got knocked out and passed the rock on. So The Rock is currently with the chip leader at the final table, which in itself is a nice story. It's meted to the final
Yeah,
table. But he wanted to get in touch with Adam Walton to wish him good luck. And apparently that's happened now. So they have spoken. And I think Walton has even offered to fly him out, even though he's only 2 hours away, for the second day of the final, should Walton make it through. And I would imagine The Rock will get passed on to somebody else if it doesn't. Ultimately, I'm sure it'll end up in the hands of the winner, which is a nice story. Do you like these stories? Does this make sense for Poker News to be sort of, pushing this sort of stuff? And I'm not sure if Poker News are, but this little type of feel-good story, given, all of the money involved in poker, is this heartwarming? Is this good for the game?
yeah, stuff like that is what you'd call like your lifestyle stories. It does
Yeah,
help because
yeah,
when you take away the prize money, poker's actually not that interesting. As for an outsider, for a non-poker player, it's like just a load of men and women, playing cards. So if you can actually
yeah.
put some life to these people and stuff, or find a story. Like I think another story before from main event is a father and daughter duo cashed together,
I saw that.
which
Yeah.
yeah, which were pretty cool. So stuff like that is good. I hope it does get to thingy now and loses to Toby, heads up. And that's so at least then we can have the World Series of Rocks next year.
Oh, fantastic. Listen, I've got another one for you. This is classic. Joe Pompliano, right? The Wynn Golf Club is one of the most expensive public access courses in the country, $600 plus. And now you must stare at a 366-foot tall and 516-foot wide fake eyeball while you play. They can't be happy about that. So, I mean, obviously an amazing little video there, right? This is the new arena that's opened up in Las Vegas. Have you seen this?
Not in
It's
the flesh, but I saw it the other week when they changed it into a basketball, and it
yeah,
looked
yeah,
pretty
yeah, yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Because I knew they were building it, and then I was flicking through various things, and I'm like, "What the hell's that? Why someone photoshopped that?" And then
It's
then
not.
did a bit of googling. It's like, gee, it's actually real.
I'm
Someone's going
looking
to
at
hack
it. It
that
looks.
one day. And it's going to be something. It's going to end up being something quite unsavory. I can tell.
It's going to be a testicle, isn't it?
Well, I was you said it. You said it, not me, Des.
Well, I think we all think it. Incredible. They spent over $2 billion on this. But I've only heard positive things. I mean, it looks really, really weird, right? And all of the pictures that I've seen, it just looks weird. But I'm sure when Lee rejoins us, and Lee, you might be out there. He's suffering from a little bit of jet lag. Got back yesterday. But if you're out there, tell us, what did you make of this thing? It just looks rather weird in pictures, but it must be incredibly impressive in the flesh.
They're trying to build one in Stratford, apparently. It got planning permission and stuff, but then it's been put back because O2 have kicked off saying we're the premier venue in London.
Yeah,
So it's hit some red tape and stuff, but I don't know whereabouts in Stratford it is because there's not much space down there, is there? But
it's incredible.
just
I mean,
turn it into a giant football.
yeah, maybe they could put it, where West Ham's stadium is. They just do that.
Yeah, that'd be a good
Just
idea.
put a giant eye where Declan Rice had played on the pitch, and now be replaced by a very large eye. We like it. Brian Rast, right, who's just joined the Poker Hall of Fame, and some people think that's great. Other people unhappy that he seems to have jumped the queue a bit, albeit there seems to be a very large queue. Says the stalling in the World Series of Poker main is unbearable to watch right now. So we're going back maybe a day or two here. And there was a lot of stalling, and people are stalling because they want somebody on the table next to them to get knocked out. The pay jump's quite serious. What do you think? You must have seen a lot of that in your updating days, Matt.
Oh yeah, you could. There was people that were that bad at it sometimes that you could start writing a hand with them, and then actually look over to the table next to them. Their hand had completely finished. You wrote notes for that hand, and it'd still be tanking, and then they're just like fold 10th four off suit or something. It's like if you've got a legitimate decision, by all means, sit there and have a
Yeah,
ponder and stuff. And especially when it's big money, or on crucial stages of
Yeah.
tournaments. But if you're just going to fold, there's no point sitting there checking your cards, pausing for 10 seconds, and then folding. Just get on with it.
Yeah. It's,
It's
do
but
we
some of
think
them are. Sorry.
could we see a shot clock coming in?
I think they have it on WPT, don't they? And
Yeah. Yeah.
they've started having shot clocks there. Um, I don't know if they'll do it on WSOP just because they don't seem to like change. I'm very surprised they did big blind ante because they're so set in the ways for stuff. Thought it'd still be we're still doing it how it should be done, kind of thing. But yeah, the excessive stalling, it's frustrating for players. It's frustrating for everybody. And if it ends up being like things like that while it's on something live streamed, it's rubbish to watch.
So that's the
People are just
point,
sat there.
right? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
viewers are
really the
sat there
point.
going. Yeah, viewers are sat there going, "Why is he just sat there?" Because obviously, if you've
Yeah.
got the whole card information as well, it's
Yeah.
like, what's he doing? Just tanking and tanking and tanking.
Yeah.
It's just get on with it.
It just seems mad. And of course, sometimes the players, it looks like they've got a decision to make. But if you don't know your poker particularly well and you're looking at their whole cards, you think, well, what's the decision? Just fold. Surely you're folding those. Your jack fives
Mm.
of no value here. The player is sat there, considering, what am I going to do with this jack five? In reality, he's just waiting to see some movement out of the corner of his eye over there. All right, I've got another one for you. This is an interesting one. So two of our old favorites here. Helmuth has posted end of day 2, the 10,006 max, 550 started, 30 of us left. I've got 860k, so we saw that, right? We saw that in one of the updates earlier. Blah, 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 blah. Moving towards my 18th bracelet, right? Positivity. So 550 started, 30 of us left. Another great run for Phil. But Mike Matazau, who's not shy in coming forward, says, good luck, buddy. Pulling for you. But just want to clarify, 550 didn't start for you as you entered the tournament with 250 people left and 24 big blinds. So you're actually trying to beat 250 players. So Phil obviously joined this event in day 2. So a lot of people, Matazau being one, sort of saying, well, why? Why can players buy into day 2 now? So being able to buy into the main event, for example, day 2, when you've already lost, I don't know, a third, a half of the field, just seems disingenuous for a championship event. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, and I don't like it. Like I say, I'm the when it comes to World WSOP and stuff like that, it should be a straight shootout. As in a freeze out. You should have like 10 levels of late registration. Once that's done, it's done. If you don't, join another event if you want to try and win a bracelet. It's they're starting on day 2. A lot of it does. They seem to do it a lot with high rollers and 10K championships. I'm not a fan of it because,
No.
like you say, that you're buying in on day 2. Like you say, in these fields, like you say, at least half of them have disappeared by end of day 1. So it's not exactly a level playing field really when it's like that. Obviously he's penalised by having a much shorter stack than rest of it, but there'll be people who started on day 2 who actually had fewer chips than
Yeah.
he would have got as his starting stack. So that doesn't sit right with me. These day
Yeah.
2 starts.
Well, it does seem like, a player with a big bankroll can take advantage of them also because Helmuth can enter into that day 2. Yes, he's got a shorter stack, but maybe he's more adept at playing a shorter stack than a lot of the players in there. Maybe that's one of his strengths.
Mm.
And B, he's going into day 2 knowing that he's going to have to make some big decisions quite early and get lucky. But he's got the bankroll to be able to support that decision making. And, if he does get one or two of those decisions right early on, suddenly, he's got momentum and he's away, as it were.
Hmm.
But I liked the way Matazal made the point of, you haven't beaten 550, right? You've beaten 250. That's the point at which you joined. So yeah, it's an interesting question, of course. Allowing players to, enter on a day 2 has maybe enabled additional players to come in. Maybe they weren't available for the week prior. I don't know, but it has swelled the field. One would assume. I mean, some of these options weren't available, of course, back in 2006 when Jamie Gold for example, produced the 8,773 number, right? So these are other elements that have grown the number, presumably. I've got another one for you, Matt. So Alexandra Botez here. So paywalling the greatest spectacle of any sport will inevitably lead to a decrease in its relevance. So look, the point here, if we skip straight to it, is that she's making the point, why not show the World Series of Poker final table for free? PokerGo, show it for free. That's going to get more people involved in poker. Now, PokerGo will have paid for it, right? So it's not that straightforward for them, because they're relying on content like this to grow their subscriber base, enabling them to invest in future content, retain the World Series of Poker, etc. I mean, where do you come down to on this one, Matt? We have seen, for example, with certain things like the Women's European Championship final was on subscriber platforms recently, a year, 2 years ago, and then it went on to Channel 4 for the final, because England had made it all the way through. Do you think is there a call, a sensible call for the World Series of Poker?
I can see both sides of the argument, really. I think, obviously, I don't know the money involved for what they paid for it, but I imagine it's probably out of the realms of the normal guy in the street taking his video camera and doing it. Especially when it was
Hell yeah.
ESPN last time. So you'd
Hell yeah.
think ESPN aren't going to, if they've outbid ESPN for it, then you'd think there's a lot of money that's changed, and so they've got to recoup that money somehow. And they do I do quite like a lot of the Poker Go coverage. I think they do a good job, but at the same time, there is also a case for why don't they actually show the biggest one, or at least show some of the events for free? Just like give a little sneak preview, and then people will go, "Oh, that were really good." And then when they go log on to the next one, it's like, "Well,
Yeah.
by the way, you actually owe us 20 quid if you want to watch it now."
Yeah.
I think that'd be a better way to actually get more customers rather than just charge them from off, because a lot of them
Yeah.
won't be knowing
And to be
what
honest,
they're getting.
I think they do that. I think there's a 2 hour free view, 2 or 3 hour free view on both PokerGo and YouTube for each of the nights. Leading up to this, I think the first 2 or 3 hours, which to be honest has worked really well in the UK, because the events are starting at like 10 o'clock at night, so you can watch up to midnight or 1 o'clock, and obviously, why would I pay to watch at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. when I've got to go to bed? So I think they have done that. I'm not sure whether they're doing it tonight. Maybe some of the guys out there can tell us. I do have a paid subscription for PokerGo. So, I'm not sure if tonight will also have that little free view period. If it does, I wouldn't complain. If it doesn't, that's a shame, because I think, as an appetizer, I think it works incredibly well. I think if you watch a couple of hours of poker, you're much more likely to want to subscribe to either continue watching what you're doing or make sure you get the full experience next time out.
Yeah,
Right.
I think the worrying side of that is when I was last in Vegas, a lot of the casinos and stuff were showing reruns of WSOP and WPT, in the bars and stuff. If PokerGo have got it completely paywalled, that's not going to be on. It's just going to be showing old, the older WSOP kind of action and stuff. So like that, what Alexandra? It does make it a little bit less relevant, because the normal man or woman on the street doesn't, won't get to see the latest up to date poker without subscribing. So yeah, I could, I know why Poker Go are doing it, because they'll be in a massive hole this series for it. You got to recoup that
Oh yeah,
somewhere. I
Jesus,
won't be surprised. I
absolutely.
won't be surprised if in a few years' time, Mister Carey Cat ends up selling it, as like a whole package to somebody like ESPN, or like a Netflix, so they can do all. We've got
Yeah.
all this content. Let's do a poker story.
The thing you would say about PokerGo, though, and credit to these guys, they seem to have put a huge investment into stages and the number of events that they're showing, and the quality of the commentary, I think, is very good. Personally, I like it. I think the number of mixed games that are now being shown, in addition to Hold'em games, which wasn't always the way, I just think they put on a very professional show for a relatively young business. I think their
Hmm.
YouTube, their clipping, their social media, they're out there selling stuff. I think they're very professional. So they may be doing a far better job for poker from a production point of view than maybe many of the bigger, production companies would do. So hats off
Hmm.
to them. Hats off to them for that. Stefan Roder has said the first 1 hour is free. So as far as tonight is concerned, I guess the first hour is free. A couple of other comments here. Let's see if we can go through these. So Simon says PokerGo isn't a charity. Absolutely right. It's a business investing quite a lot. And Lee and I had Maury Esfandani on the Orbit one night, and he was telling us about how hard it was to just keep their servers and everything cool outside of the Rio. So they were in the car park when they
Hmm.
were shooting from the Rio. It was just incredibly hard just to keep everything cool. So I guess there's a whole lot of expense there that we're not even aware of. But Simon is absolutely right. PokerGo is not a charity. I think they're doing a fantastic job. Simon also goes on to say the main event never used to be shown until September on ESPN. That's true, right? They used to come out with 10, 12 weeks of poker programming, but it was well after the series. Now you're seeing it pretty much live as stuff happens. Mr. Haycock is out there. So talking about max late regging here. So the influx of max late reggers makes the stage of the tournament quite bingo because they're all just looking to spin up from 10 to 20 big blinds. Good for prize pools. It's all about adjustments, but it does change the dynamic late on day one. Would agree with that.
Hmm.
Simon Allen is out there. Saw Botis's post earlier. Agree the F with her in principle. Agree the okay. Free coverage of the main event would be brilliant for the profile of the game, but it's not for PokerGo to give it away. They're running a business, and there's a cost to be covered. Also, Botes, what do you think of these chess grandmasters turning their hand to poker? So Botes is a chess grandmaster. Came and played the main event. Crossover makes sense. What do you think, Matt?
And what's his name? I think it was a young Estonian lad who last year started. He did really well on GG Poker, won their Super Millions a couple of times. Went really. I can't remember his name, eludes me now, but he was a grandmaster, and even though he was only like 22, 23.
Yeah,
And one of the interviews we did with him or something, he says there's a lot of similarities between chess and poker. As in like being able to strategize for long hours, thinking one step ahead and things like that. You know, it's good that we're getting more people outside the game because obviously they'll talk about them. But if they're super intelligent and great at maths, then we don't want them to
yeah.
come play. you know, the more we want more people's grannies to come and play, not people who are super intelligent and stuff. 'Cause,
Well, I tell you though, with the strength of social media these days, if people can bring their following from another sort of sport game, whatever it may be, and into poker, that could be a good thing, right? We saw the importance of what was it, the Queen's Gambit to chess, for example, created a huge interest in chess just through the series being on Netflix. So it's interesting that she's playing. If she brings an audience with her, all the better for poker, I have to say. Billy Johnston says, correct, a free view appetizer for a few hours on YouTube, etc. But it's $15 for the month or $99 for the year. I paid for the month and I love it. And that's a fair comment because you can pay for the
mhm.
month and there are deals to be had out there. And I think the $99 for the year is a lot less than 99. I think there are deals where you can get like a third off of that if you decide to go for an annual subscription. And Simon says, well worth the subscription. So much archive material on site. I mean, you can see World Series
Yeah,
of
because
Poker main events,
because
73,
they've got the rights
74.
to they've got
Absolutely.
the rights to high stakes poker and things as well, aren't they? It's very good product. It is. They're very good at what they do.
Yeah, I think they are.
Very protective of the product as well.
Yeah, and rightly so. I respect them for that. I mean, In I can see that Jack Eiffel is just about to do the shuffle up and deal now, so the action is about to start here. But there are other instances where a lot of people could quite easily, I could within seconds have this on this live stream. It's easy to do, but it's their content. If you watch it, you got to go and buy a subscription. So I would respect that. Right, Stephen 40 is saying, use Dream 30 for a $30 discount for an annual subscription. So PokerGo is only $60 for 12 months. It's just started now. He is right. It has just started. John Murray, we're going to talk about the fantasy poker, right? We'll do that next. Alex Botez is great, but she ain't no grandmaster. I don't know. Just quoted what somebody else said there. Simon says they awarded the 30 years entry to main event on stream, at least the winners, not 80. The 30 years entry to the main event on stream.
Yeah, everybody who entered the main event this year got put into a draw, and you got it was called main event for life, and you got 30 main event entries. So a
Oh,
lot
you're
of people
shitting
joked
me.
it might have
Wow.
been that there were an old fella that were like 102, and it were like I thought he were nailed on to win it myself, but yeah, so we got 30 shots at the main event, which is a pretty cool little prize.
Well, that's incredible. Billy says some lucky guy who played the main for the first time has just won 30 years entries. I didn't even know that was a thing. How the hell have I missed that? Jesus.
Too interested in watching Jordan Henderson go to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, we're not talking about that. He's never going to go. Can't go. We can't break into football now, Matty. We've been doing so well. There we go. And there's the first of them, Matty. We're losing our audience. Sorry, Des, switching to World Series of Poker Go stream. Well, it makes sense. We're just looking now. So first hands in play. Walton, chip leader, naturally. He's got a nice ace jack. Pridrick, the Ukrainian, queen jack. Toby Lewis is the small blind here. Hutchinson is the button, Matt. So we'll talk this one through. So it looks like Pridrick's going to re-raise. So Walton raised to 2.4 million with ace jack. Pridrick's gone to 7.5 million with queen jack. Hutchinson has dropped 8-3. Lewis has 10-3. The small blind lets it go. Weinman 8-7 suited on the big blind lets it go. So it's back to Walton now. The chip leader. So Pridrick's 3-bet the chip leader. First hand, he's holding rubbish. And he takes it down. So Walton has chosen not to, with ace jack, to use his stack in the first hand. Interesting. Now the Ukrainian could be dangerous there.
It'll be very interesting to see what Toby does on his first hand he gets involved in, because obviously 17 bigs doesn't give you a lot of wiggle room. It's too big to just like open shove within him. But
he's on the button here in this second hand. Matt, so Jones in first position is Jack 3 offsuit. He lets it go. Mikiris has 8-7 suited. He's going to put some chips in.
Yeah, he likes his suited connectors, as our Spanish friend.
He does indeed. He's creative. So 2.5 million was his raise. Walton is out. Priddick's got King 3. He will drop this, I'm sure. He lets it go. So it's now with Hutchison. King 8, he lets it go. So now Toby in position on the button, 9-7. It looks as ugly as it sounds, I'm afraid. He lets that go. 8-3 Weinman at small blind, and Yachtman is 9-5. So the 8-7 of the Spaniard is going to nick him 3 million chips there. Very nice. Thank you very much. So quiet start. No major drama in the first couple of hands.
Yeah, that tends to be case in ones that I've reported on and watched before. Like I say, they're just kind of, get back into swing of things. And as you know yourself, you look when you can see whole card information, you realise why it's so cagey, because nobody gets a hand. You kind of hoping that early on you're getting like an aces versus kings or something, or at least two really playable hands. But that doesn't happen. When you fold it, you see these hands and there's people with like 9-5. It's like even the most craziest of people's not getting involved.
But the example there is McRae's, right? He's shown this. Oh, where's that coming from? He's shown that over the last few days that he's creative. He'll get involved with any two cards. Rigby was another one in earlier days who built a huge stack. And admittedly, he's not here at the final table, right? But he was prepared to be creative in his play. So the opportunities will be there.
Mhm.
It depends on what level of confidence you have, what your table image is like. It looks like Toby Lewis has just taken one down here. Didn't see the action, but he's taking chips. So it was just a small pot. Where does that leave him? That shoots him up to 22.2 million. So he's just taking the blinds. Presumably, he was the only raiser. So he's showing Toby's got a dark sort of tracksuity type top on. He's not wearing the glasses tonight. A lot of controversy over the glasses over the last couple of days. I don't know if you've seen any of that, Matt.
It seems to rear its head every year, doesn't it? They all they shouldn't be allowed to wear sunglasses because I don't know if they still do it, but they used to. Once you got into money places, you had to take your headset off or your earphones out.
Oh,
You weren't
really?
allowed to listen. Yeah, as soon as it reached the money, you had to turn everything off. Don't know
Uh,
what difference makes like, but the I'm not bothered if somebody wants to wear sunglasses, let them wear sunglasses. I
yeah.
don't see it as
Well,
it's.
people were saying that these Yachtman is wearing sunglasses, so it's no rule. It's just Toby has dropped his tonight. So for the last 2 days, people have been saying that the sunglasses that he has been wearing, that they have a camera in them, and the potential to, you could have an audio connection with somebody somewhere. I have to say, there's only been one or two conspiracy type theorists pushing this. But nonetheless, it's interesting. He's turned up without them tonight, but he's not wearing the cap either. So, yeah, I see the Spaniard is wearing a cap and glasses as well.
Yeah, well, that stage that they do that is nicknamed the Thunderdome, it is very very bright there. I don't know if it shows up on camera how bright it is, but it's
Oh, it
like
would be with all those
it's like
lights above.
yeah, like when you're like it's one of those where like if you go to see a comedian, they can't actually see the crowd because they've got the beaming lights in the face.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very much like that because obviously the Poker Go guys need good light for their cameras, but uh, yeah, it's. I think I'd have to put on my prescription sunglasses if I ever found myself at one of these final tables because I'd end up with a migraine.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. Just having a quick check, just looking at the six max with Jamie O'Connor, Matt, and I can see that he's maybe got an extra 100,000 chips from when we last looked in. Farajatan is still leading there, but Jamie looks quite comfortable in second place. Alexandra reared also with a similar chip stack. We now have 22 left in that. So good work for Mr. O'Connor, keeping things going nicely there. So we're looking at a hand here, Matt, and I don't know if you've got the stream up or not. In fact, it's Yachtman that's going to take it. Not a particularly big pot, but Yachtman takes one down as well. He's wearing a suit and a black shirt, looking very, very smart. I have to say, everybody's looking very shiny and smart. They were all looking quite rough over the last couple of days, as you would be, having reached this stage in the main event. But they're all looking pretty sharp tonight. Yachtman is wearing a very, very large Stake Kings logo, right? A patch that actually goes off of his chest, almost over to his arm. It's huge. Let's see who else is wearing what. I can see Walton is wearing a badge as well. I don't really remember these guys being badged up too much in the previous day's plays, but it looks like they've been pounced on. Toby isn't wearing any badge.
I
Interesting.
remember the WSOP final table in 2013 when I was there, and as soon as final nine got announced, you just saw like the big guns from
888 and
PokerStars,
tilts and
888,
stars.
just straight over. They all had contracts all pre-written and they're offering them the world to wear a
Uh,
patch on telly.
Absolutely. Well, I've been involved in a little bit of that in the past. I was the head of Everest Poker at one point, and
Oh, you got Sam, didn't you?
yeah, I brought Sam in for sure, but we also had people like Scotty Wynn, and we had a really interesting and eclectic list of ambassadors at times. But you do look at final tables and you do think, can we do something with this? But it's very hard to make that pay, that type of strategy. When I brought
Yeah.
Sam in, one of the things that we did with him that I thought was really interesting, it worked really well for us, was that we put on a promotion, a 3-month promotion, whereby anybody who played certain games were given a share of up to 10% of Sam's winnings at the World Series of Poker. So you become part of a 10% club. And the previous year, of course, Sam had cleaned up. He'd won like 20 million. What with the one drop and everything else. So it was we had thousands of players sign up to this. It was absolutely fabulous. And poor Sam, he didn't have a great summer. It didn't really return a huge amount, but it was a novel. And I think you need to come up with innovative type promotions to keep players engaged.
I remember writing that up for Poker News.
Did you really?
Yeah, I can remember him. It, like you say, one of those where like, oh, that's because I used to have an account of Everest quite a long time ago. But yeah, that were 2014, 2015, the summer of Sam.
Summer of Sam. Yeah, that could well be it.
Everest Everest Poker Pro Sam Trickett giving away 10% of
There
WSOP
you
with
go. Boom.
earnings.
That was my promo. Sam, he was very nervous about doing that deal, I have to say. And he was represented by, who was that Las Vegas promoter? Oh, crikey, his name doesn't. I remember having several interesting discussions with him, but I can't recall his name right now. He had a number of players in his stable.
Is it not did that Poker Royalty or something like that?
Yeah, it was Poker Royalty. Yeah, it was
I
Poker
can't, I
Royalty.
can't think of it. I can. His name's
Jim.
on tip of my tongue.
Yeah, same here. Which actually makes me think that I haven't heard a lot from him in recent years. But these guys couldn't quite figure out this deal. But I remember when we did it and we signed it, they went, "That's a great deal. that's really smart." So it was good. It was good. Lewis has jacks here, Matt, and he's raised to 2.4 million. We're with Jones now. He's got ace deuce suited clubs. He's going to let them go. Makiris has ace 5 unsuited. He lets it go. Holzner, the Italian, lets it go. Walton has 9-7. He's considering. And right, so we're going to see a flop. 2-3-4. So Walton has missed. Lewis has jacks. 6.6 million in the pot. Lewis is nonchalantly looking across the table as if he is 1,000 miles away. I'm sure he'll be reaching for a little raise here. 2-3-4. Of course, your opponent sat with an ace there. There's some possibilities, but Walton has 9-7. Hearts and diamonds. Now he's still nonchalantly just looking out into mid-air, Toby.
Brian Ballsboard or something like that is called.
That's it, Brian Ballsbow. Yeah, that's it, Brian Ballsbow.
There we
That's
go.
exactly
It was in there. It was in there somewhere.
Yeah, that's exactly him. So Toby has taken that pot down. He put a small raise in, and we get a fold from Walton. Toby takes another pot. This is a good start, right? And I feel deeply uncomfortable because I know you've got a back end that can transport us an hour into the future.
I have got like the hot tub time machine.
It's like the hot tub time machine. It is indeed, but we can't evoke that. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at the chat box because it's been running on a bit here. So Steve Forty says the dealer of the year is on the table. That's right. With cameras. So we're talking about the glasses. It was indeed. How much would you get for wearing a patch? Sort of depended very much on who you were. And very often it wasn't as much as you'd think. Simon goes on to say maybe GG Poker could offer a share of DNEG's losses. Very bad. Simon says Brian's Ballspaw. It was Brian. Simon says lucky ace 5 passed. Missed that. Steve says, Des, the game is easy when you see the whole cards. It's true. It's true. Oh, hello. Lewis has this looks sick. Lewis has ace queen and he's raised to 2.4 million. Weinman is sat with 76 million chips and aces. He calls the 2.4 million. Holzner has ace jack and is considering his action. He's on the button. So Lewis in this pot, 2.4 million. He's got a call from aces who has position on him. Holzner lets it go. Walton passes 6-4. Prudhoe now with 8-3 of spades. This does not feel good.
That's up here. He whiffs the flop.
So Prudhoe lets it go. So we're now on Sir Hutchinson. Oh, he's let it go. So we see a flop now. It's Jack 5-7. So Toby has missed. He's got his ace queen. Weinman sat there with aces. He's Toby super well covered. Actions on Toby. Looks off into the distance. I'm not really here. I'm somewhere peaceful, somewhere calm. He looks down at the chips that he's riffling, but he's continually riffling chips. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to put some in. Jack 5-7 is our flop here. Matt, what are you doing with ace queen?
Against someone who can bust me there and probably just check folding. Because I'd imagine the guy with aces is going to continue on that. I'm very surprised he didn't 3-bet against Toby because you'd imagine Toby's not going to be raise folding very often.
Well,
you'd imagine he's going to. I'd imagine that Toby's going to be like looking to get it in. So even if he does 3-bet small, Toby's either going to fold or probably come straight over top. He's not going to call you 3-bet. And if you've got aces, obviously it's an ideal scenario, isn't it? But
well, maybe he wanted Toby to catch a piece of
that's
it.
What,
I would say, Matt. In any event, Toby checked. Weinman raised by 2.5 mil, and Toby let it go. So Weinman takes out, but I mean that's about the minimum of pain as far as Toby is concerned from that particular hand. We do step back an extra couple of million chips there, though. Unfortunately, Miss Chillmate has joined. Evening, chaps.
Because the first
evening, Joe.
The first break that they go on, Toby will be straight over to Brits on rail, and they'll be relaying him every single bit of information they can.
Yeah.
So they'll that hand will definitely pop up for discussion, I'd imagine.
Lewis, Queen 3 in early position there. Let's it go. Weinman now with queens. Wow. Up to 84 million. Toby is now sat on 24 million. So, he started with 19. He's sat on 24. Good confident start, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Considering he's himself against aces too.
Yeah, that could have. If that jack had been 1 pip higher, it'd have been good night, Mr. Lewis.
Absolutely.
It won't be getting away from that, would he? I don't think.
Where are we? So no update on Parish Doshi guys in the horse. He still sat with 109,000 pads on 111. So these updates were as of about 45 minutes ago, I would say. Stacked field in that event. Jamie O'Connor, let's just check in on Jamie. In the 6 max, we've got 22 players left there. Jamie had 3.4 million. He's in second place, just 200k off the chip leader. Doing very, very nicely. And,
yeah, they're only, 4 players away from a redraw, so hopefully Lady Luck will give him a
Yeah,
favourable position on some of the shorter stacks in that, because there's some very, very dangerous players left in that field.
agree, agree. Although I don't think too many players would want to sit to the wrong side of Jamie O'Connor in that event either. He's a pretty action
No, for
advantage
sure. And
player.
the thing is, because he's not like a Helmuth or a Chidwick, some of the other people who aren't overly aware of him could possibly underestimate, what he is, because he's quite obviously he's very serious when he's playing poker, but he's willing to have a bit of a laugh and a bit of a chat and stuff at table. So hopefully that'll work
Yeah,
in his favour,
he can
and
talk to them.
we can get a lead we can get a Leeds
Yeah,
bracelet winner.
you can talk to them about Leeds and the championship. I mean, how do you feel about the championship next year, Matt? Is it soul destroying to have to go through that again?
I'm still in denial a little bit. It's it's all a bit of a mess at the moment. So
Yeah,
I've renewed my season ticket though, so that's glutton for punishment.
has the price gone down?
So no, they give us a 10% rebate if we got
Oh,
relegated. So
fair enough. Fair enough.
I'm due a couple of £100 back off them.
Yeah. So there's a hand brewing here, Matt. You've got Yachtman on 76 million. You've got Weinman on 78. Yachtman is holding King Queen offsuit. Weinman has a pair of queens. 50 million in the pot. 4 hearts have come out. So Yachtman has a heart. He's making a bet now. 15 million in there. Yachtman has raised 4.5 million. So Weinman sat with queens. He doesn't have a heart. There is an ace on the board as well, so I suspect he might get away from this.
Yeah, he's going to get rid of that. Into he's
Yeah, it's a bit smelly, isn't it?
yeah. There's going to be with it, like I said, keep going up. I keep mentioning structure, but the blind structure of this with 2 hour long levels is ridiculous. It's not like it's a 20-minute turbo where you've got to you've got to take some risks. It's like he's going to find a much better spot where he's going to have a much clearer idea if he's in ahead or if or way behind, and so he's not in any danger. So it'll just get rid of that.
Yeah, let's let go. Oh, do you remember this crazy hand, Matt? The kings, the queens, and the jacks? And Weinman was all but out.
Oh yeah, and he spiked on river, I think,
He
didn't he
did.
as well?
Yeah, absolutely crazy hand. With the jack, he made his trip jacks on the turn. But wow, that's how close. And that's the fine line of poker, isn't it? And that's
Yeah,
why we like it, because you can be on the positive side of that line.
yes. It's one of those where, like you said, anybody can beat anyone on the day, can't they? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
if you're skillful, you've got more of an advantage. But at the end of the day, lady looks a cruel mistress sometimes, and
Absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
if you do a little sacrifice to poker gods, then sometimes it's your time to shine.
Too right, too right. So, guys out there in the chat box, who do you think is going to win? So, Steve Forty says he likes Weinman for the win. Who do you like? Let us know. Just put it in the chat. Record it for posterity. You can say you knew, right? You had the insight. I want to see who's going for Toby Lewis here, because that's impressive, right? 22 million chips, 24 million chips. Hutchison down to 39, so he's lost 2 or 3 million. Walton probably slightly down. I mean, arguably, Toby's had as good a start as any of them here on this final table. But he doesn't look, he just doesn't look to be in the room. Anytime the camera flicks to him, he tends to be just staring off into the distance. It's almost like he's got a Zen-like state that he goes into.
Yeah. He's been in these similar situations online and
Yeah.
live before. It's just another day at the office for him, isn't it?
Oh,
You
he's
know.
reaching for chips here, Matt. So Pridrick's opened to 2.4 million with a 9-8 off. Lewis has got King Jack, shoves them all in and takes the pot. And 24 million becomes, I don't want to say 27 million. Happy days. And there's a huge Toby rail there.
Yeah, who was it before? I saw my first brick reel in real life, and it was just absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, yes, always fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, they definitely get behind it. It's almost like going to football, isn't it?
It's
They get behind with
it's mad.
chants and stuff. It's Brazilians at same. Brazilians are absolutely crazy.
There is a uh, the 2005 final table where Joe Hatcham won, and Andy Black was on the final table. And at midnight in Vegas, Andy Black was chip leader, and he has this pretty big hand with Mike Matazzao, and he raises, Matazzao re-raises, and Black looks him in the eye and just shoves like all of his chips in, right? And Matazzao, obviously, it's a huge push. Well, the rail goes mad, and I know because I'm on the ESPN cameras getting up with an Irish flag, and I'm like screaming, "You fucking yes," because that's the way we Irish are, right? It's the same for people from Leeds, right? Yes, but Black looks over at the rail and he goes, "It's funny, but it's like being at a football match. If you're following
Yeah,
somebody,
it becomes very tribal, doesn't it?
very much so.
And
And you can also feel your country thing as well. That's very much a thing over there. The Brits with their shoe bombs for many years, that was a big cultural innovation in poker. The Brazilians now, I think, are phenomenal. Ironically, it's the American players who don't get that sort of adulation generally because they don't tend to have, I don't know, that sort of camaraderie on tour, it would seem to me.
mhm. They also only have one chant, don't they? As well, USA, USA. That's all. So it gets a bit tedious after a while.
Pete Wigglesworth says, with the jacks, I believe Weinman was third into the pot, which means he should have folded, in my opinion, rewarded for a questionable call. Would agree. Would agree. I thought he
Hmm.
was mad getting involved in that pot with jacks. Simon says, I'm still backing Lewis to win it. Love it. Love it. Yeah. Steve says, Andy Black, who? Des, you should get him on the show. Oh, we've had him on several times, Steve. Several times. Several times. Did you miss those episodes there in the back
He's
catalogue?
definitely a character.
We had him on one night, I swear to God, and he came on and he was on for a minute and we trailed him. We told everybody Andy was coming on and he was on for a minute or two and we managed to squeeze out of him that he was deep in a scoop event. So I said, oh, no, just go and finish your scoop event, right? Well, I got a bing on my text at 3 o'clock in the morning. I've won it. Thanks. Thanks, Des. I've won the event. So I think I had made a joke with him on the thing, but we get 10% of anything you win. Never seen the 10%. But
We
we
used to try and do stuff like that on like poker players that come up and they'd say, "Have you got a charger for like a Samsung?" And you go, "Yeah, for like 2% or whatever you win." And most of them, none of them ever took you up on it. Some of it was, obviously tongue in cheek. And then we did it once on EPT, and I can't remember the fella's name. And he won like 100 grand or something. And he just came over and give us all like 50 euros each to get yourself a beer when you finish. Thanks.
awesome.
So
Love it. An interesting one breaking out here. Holzner and Yachtman both with the same holding. So this will come down to action. So Holzner was the player, Matt, I was referring to earlier. He was very, very short on day. Is this day 9? I think this is day 9, right? So he was very, very short on day 8. And he somehow managed to double up 2 or 3 times. In fact, when they just met the unofficial final table, right? He went in there super short, but had a couple of doubles and came into the final with, I think, around 40 million, I want to say. But I might be wrong there because he sat with 30 million now, and I don't remember him having gotten too involved in anything thus far. So Holzner did raise to 2.5 million with ace king off. Yachtman, same hand, 3-bet to 8.1 million. Holzner is now considering this. I mean, this will be for a significant portion of his stack. So I think it'll give you a sense of where his mind is. I think he either goes all in with this or he lets it go. I don't think he calls and assesses the flop. So he's looking at Yachtman. Riffling chips. as Lon McCarran helpfully reminds everyone that this guy has used his one time, and he does commit all of his chips. So as we said, it's all in or nothing. So the action is now with Yachtyman. Does he meet the £30 million bet? He's got 8 million committed to the pot. I don't think he's going to call this with Ace King. I think he's too pragmatic, maybe.
I'd rather be shoving with Ace King than calling with Ace King.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
He's 40 million
I've
in the
just
pot
seen in
now, and he sat with 82. I mean, that would take him up to 122 million.
That would be
That's the risk. I guess depends on if you want to try and win the thing. Well, he's counting out the chips, so he's looking back at Holzner now. It's as if he's going to ask, "Don't you know who I am? I have a bracelet from 2012. You have pushed all of your chips in. You must have something very good." He calls. He makes the call. Fair play. Giddy up and go. And they both get the bad news. We're wasting everybody's time here. Please now, come on, 4 diamonds. Let's make it saucy. Sorry, what were you saying, Matt?
I've just checked on the on Boz. He's still they've come back from break, but Stephen Chidwick's just won a really large pot there, so he's up to 4th now, which
Fantastic.
and I'm sure in the fantasy poker WSOP fantasy poker somebody below and somebody above Scott Chidwick, so we need Mr. Boz to eliminate him. I've got 20 odd spots to make, 20 odd points to make up in the last 3 events, I think it is. So,
well, listen, if you want to talk to the guy who finished 2nd last year, I'm him. So we had a split pot there. Matt. The fantasy poker competition that the boys put on is fantastic, is it not? We're in record numbers there as well this year, John and Carl. So you're 20 points off top spot. Who are your players that have done well for you during the summer, Matt? Can you even remember?
I couldn't remember. Luckily, Carl let me know. Benny Glasser or Glazer. He's done pretty well for me. Sean Deebu, you've basically got to have if you're doing one of these things.
Yeah.
Because he just plays absolutely everything. And I think my wild card were Chris Brewer, who went, who would earned the moniker most unluckiest man in poker. Yeah, and so he were overdue in his 1-2 bracelets. So he's done really well for me as well. The disappointing ones were Adrian Matios, who's done next to bugger all, and Dario Sammartino, who doesn't seem to have enjoyed the best of series. So I've got a feeling neither of them will be playing in any of remaining events. So it might get
there's the leaderboard as we sit at the moment, Matt. So I don't know if any of your guys are going to come good there, but Steve Jennison is on 368 points. You're 2nd on 342. We've got Joe Foley, Cha Oritigo, Gaz Howard, Simon Brooke, Terry Timmons, Wesley Nobles. So, not a huge amount of points between you all. But for anybody who guessed at 368 points or fewer, I'm afraid you're not going to win that part of the fantasy poker competition I was amongst.
I'm still in that as well. I guessed 417 points would win it.
Do you know that's probably not going to be a million miles away? I would have thought. Oh, hello. So we're looking at a hand here. Hosner is raised to 2.4 million. Prudik's set with Aces, the Ukrainian, on 50 million chips. Hosner's on 29. Pruddik 3-bets to 7.5. Hutchinson folds. Lewis on 8 deuce off. He folds. Weinman will get out of the way. Yachtyman will get out of the way. Jones has a pair of 4s. Cheeky pair of 4s. Lets it go. So we're back to Holzner. Can't see him doing anything other than folding here, I have to say.
It's been quite active recently, this Holzner guy. I mean, he's had the cards to do it over the last two or three, last three hands or so, but doesn't
Yeah,
seem to have.
he's shown a bit
It's
of
all right
game,
getting
hasn't
these
he?
big, powerful hands, but he's not
Yeah,
making no chips from them.
yeah. Well, he's lost another few chips there. He does get out of the way. So Toby Lewis is not too far away now from getting past Holzner, which, I guess objective number one today, get off the bottom. Oh, it's a magnificent set. Right,
Strange
so
with a name like Daniel Holzner. He's actually Italian.
yes, doesn't sound Italian, I have to say. So Holzner's out with 29.1 million, Lewis on 26.4. So the action is on Holzner here. Jones is small blind, Macares the big blind. Holzner's out, Walton 7-8 suited, who has been pretty quiet, our chip leader.
Mm.
So he puts a few chips in. I assume this will be a 2.5 raise. It's not shown on screen yet. Yeah, 2.4 million. Predict folds. Hutchison, who's been very quiet, folds. Lewis has Jack 4 suited. He folds. Weinman's out. Yachtman will fold. Jones with King 9 lets it go. So Macris on the big blind calls 1.2 million. So we will see a flop. He's got Ace 3 suited. So Ace 3 suited against 8-7. Jack Queen 4. Rainbow flop. It'll be first to bet here, I guess, Matt.
Yeah, I think. Where have we gone? It's not the greatest flop
No.
for 8-7, really. It's definitely not a good one for 8-3.
Walton put in 1.6 million, but he's going to get the call.
Yeah.
So we're going to see a turn, 7 of hearts. So there's 2 hearts on the board. Now, Macaris does have 2 hearts. So there's a bit of value there for him. Walton is putting more chips in. So 9.8 in the pot. Walton leads for 8.1 million. That's juicy. It is a 7, so Walton has hit a pair.
It could be spicy if River's an 8 of hearts.
Well, I'm not sure. Well, is Macares going to call this, or is he more likely to put a raise in?
You never know with him because he does seem to play quite unorthodox. Sometimes he plays like how you'd expect him to. A good poker player to actually play. And other times
Yeah.
he just seems to think outside the box. But like we said before, if his dad were well known for being an absolute crazy player back in early days of online poker, then he's probably learned a thing or two off him, and
Yeah.
keep everyone guessing.
Well, if he was an online crusher, which evidently he has been, we know his dad was, he should know how to play this, right? And
Mm.
I think he's either putting in a juicy bet or just getting out. That is a re-raise. I don't see him calling here. He's 5-1 to hit the heart. He's really checking his cards, and generally speaking, I think you're considering getting out at this point.
He seemed to check very, very quickly on turn, though, when he picked up his flush draw.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly. It was almost an anti-tank that Brian Rasper complaining about earlier. It was a complete polar opposite of that.
Well, he's mother call here, and he won't be happy with the river because we've now got a 26 million pot. Walton has hit 2 pair, and Macrae is set there with absolutely tiddly squat. So Walton bets 20 million, of course. He's not going to get a call here. He won't be seeing any further action from Macrae in this hand, I would have thought.
Yeah, he's not calling.
I don't think so.
Uh,
Well, I mean, you're going to push all in.
never in a,
That's
never in a, he's a nutcase, but
he's not that much of a nutcase.
he's not doing that.
Do you know? So Steve 40 is asking the question, which football shirt is he wearing? So I'm assuming it's a La Liga shirt. Don't know whose it is. Any idea, Matt? Do you recognise that?
It's from La Coruña.
So it could be Deportivo.
So it could be a Deportivo shirt, possibly.
And I think from memory, and I might be wrong in this, but I thought they might have played in blue. So it could well be. I haven't seen Deportivo for several years.
No, they used to be good. We played them in Champions League. That's how long ago they were good. Because they're only a tiny little outfit, aren't they? They're kind of punched above the weight for a long, long time.
Very much so. That's when Peter Ridsdale was building one of the Northwest biggest aquariums in his office.
Yeah. Ruining the football club. Yeah, those were the days, yeah. Offering people 20 times the salary that they didn't even, As the story goes, of a player called Seth Johnson, his agent wanted like 15 grand a week or something, so Peter Ridsdale offered him 35 and just went, and he's like, okay then. It was, yeah, crazy times.
Why would he have done that? I mean,
if anyone else, if outside of football, if someone acted like that, they'd be in prison.
Yeah, I mean,
with what they did,
that's
ridiculous.
Say no more. I think I know what you're saying, because Peter Ridsdale never crossed me as a fool, but obviously things got way out of control up there.
Yeah, it started borrowing money against future earnings and stuff, and that's when you start doing that, you're in sticky territory, aren't you? You know.
Well, particularly in something like football that is imperfect, you have a great team and just have things go wrong, get an injury.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, exactly. It's a very poorly thought out risk, to say the least.
What was it, 97 or 98? Was it when Leeds made that European Cup semi-final? Was it that far back?
Yeah, we must have been in 2000 as well, because I used to get tickets to.
United won it in 99, right? The famous treble. So it must have been either side of that or in that sort of. It was David O'Leary, a great team. I mean, Harry Kewell, he had a great team at the time.
Last time we were in Champions League was the 2000-2001 season, and then we were in UEFA Cup for the following 2 seasons, and then we went down.
That must have been it then. It must have been that 2002 year when you made the semis, and then Ridsdale was effectively investing in your future, assuming that Champions League revenue was going to continue to come in, and you slid down. Wow.
Yep. And kept on going.
Kept on going, but fair play. I mean, you managed to come back. Marcella, you shouldn't let him go.
Oh, it's a very sore point. Is that?
What do you think? Would he have kept you up?
I'd rather have gone down with Bielsa than.
Yeah.
At least would have actually. At least we got tanked by a few teams, but you always felt that there were a chance every single time, and then they got this Jesse Marsh, who were like the complete anti-Bielsa, and it's been really poor, poor planning from
Big Sam at the end.
Yeah, it was almost like cliche, wasn't it? It's just a very strange carry on. It doesn't help, obviously, with all the takeover stuff, and like the 49ers wanted to like get rid of so and so, and then it's like on transfer deadline day, Jack Harrison were actually having a medical at Leicester when we actually pulled him back and says, no, you're not going, and he were actually ready to sign for them, and so left arm don't know what right arm's doing, so hopefully that should be sorted out now. We're just waiting for all the T's to be crossed and the I's to be dotted, and then hopefully we can.
Yeah, I mean, with the support and, when we see what Burnley has done last season, I mean, there's got to be hope that Leeds can, within a season, if not 2, can bounce back. If they start to get
Yeah,
themselves reorganized again.
Yeah, they need to have a clear out of some at Deadwood because you don't have a defence as poor as we've had in the last 2 seasons and win football matches. That's just not how it works, is it?
No.
So hopefully we'll have a bit more direction once 49 has come in properly. And I think in Farke we've got a decent manager for Championship. He's got a good record down there.
Yeah, it did well with Norwich.
So we'll.
It's hard.
He
It's
did
hard
really
to,
well with Norwich. Just terrible when he got to Premier League.
It's hard to watch him in interviews, but he had a pretty damn decent record in the Championship, and there were some phenomenal sort of takeoffs of his accent and stuff like that out there. Mr. Farley, I think, does a magnificent takeoff of Farke and his German sausage and everything. It's just very funny, very, very funny. Darren Farley, is that right? It does a great Cara as well. But yeah, that'll be in your future, Matt. You'll see a lot of that content bouncing back, I'm sure.
He can talk how he likes if he does
Exactly.
if he does a good job,
Quite right. So a big hand here, the 16.2 million in the pot. McCarris is in there for 2.7. Weinman made the original bet of 2.7. It's the action is back on Holzner now with Walton also in the pot. So we want to see whether Holzner will call this 2.7 million. Ace 10, McCarris. Weinman is ace queen. Walton king 3. He'll be getting out. Holzner 10-9 suited. 9-10 suited. He gets out. So it'll be Weinman and Maceras seeing a flop. Ace 9-3. So actually there had been a flop. We've now seen the 4 of spades on the turn. So both of these players have hit an ace, but Weinman is the queen kicker. 16 million in the pot. So Lewis, 26.4 million. Holzner has 26.7 million now. So Lewis is very close to passing him. And I think what we're going to do, Matt, given that it's 10 to midnight now, and I'm going to let you get back to bed, right? Because I know you have an early one in the morning. We'll probably call this thing to quits. Maybe watch another hand. We'll let the guys out there who are watching this final table just focus in on the final. It was lovely, talking through a few hands. Always interesting, and the build-up was very, very nice. Let us know, guys. I mean, is this sort of thing interesting? Watch-alongs are a big part of football. You can't get through a Saturday or Sunday match now without somebody somewhere watching the game and talking to people on a stream. Does this sort of thing, can it work for poker? I'm not sure, but it was definitely worthwhile doing this tonight. Wyman takes that one down, so he's had a good start to this final, Matt.
Yeah, doesn't seem to be afraid to get involved and splash around a little bit. So I've still got a feeling that Toby's just going to be one hand away from being able to just start dominating because of a lot of
I think you're
But
right.
I think Mr. Yachtman's also could be like a bit of a dark horse, like I said, with his PLO background. He's not going to be. But I've just looked at the 10K 6 max, and because they're down to 18, and Jamie O'Connor's been moved tables, and he's got quite a nasty table actually. He's sandwiched between chip leader Farid Jatan, who's a really good Colombian, and a French guy called Alexandre Ried, but he's also got a certain Mr. Phil Hellmuth on his table.
Oh shit! Well, what a
And
great
Philippe,
experience.
and Philippe Ramos as well. So Philippe Ramos is good, but it would be pretty good to see him take out Mr. 17 bracelets and make him. Because I can't imagine Boz doesn't suffer fools gladly. So
no. It could definitely make the internet, that one. So Jamie currently third with 3.4 million. We can see Jatan with 3.6. Alexandra Rared has actually gone up to 4.3 million. She must have won a big pot fairly recently. And Steve Chidwick now in fourth place and 2.9. So big Brit interest in that particular event. And you think that this one's going to play out tonight for certain, down to 18 now.
Yeah, unless something serious happens and it's like super late that this will finish tonight. Because like I say, when I come on to do my shift in the morning, I kind of mop up all the back end and do like an end of day recap for stuff, and I fully expect this to be done by the time I jump back on in about 7 or 8 hours time.
Lewis in a pot here, Matt. So 6.6 million in the middle. We've seen a flop of King 10-9. Lewis sat with Ace 5 of clubs. Pridik, the Ukrainian, on 6-4 of diamonds. So Lewis leading with his ace high, 72% favorite at this point. Action is on Lewis, following a check from Pridik. Now, let's hope he can continue. Again, he is looking. It's nonchalant. It's really interesting. I haven't seen anybody else do this. He looks like he's in the zone, Lewis. He's not looking at his opponent. He's not looking at, the flop. He's just looking off into the distance. So he's reaching for chips. It's 1.7 million. It's a small bet into a 6.6 million pot. Pridik doesn't really have anything to continue with here unless he plans some action on the turn. He's considering. 8.3 million in the pot now. This would be a great little fill up for Lewis. And it would be a nice way to bring our evening's coverage to an end, I think, Matt. Yeah, and Pridik lets it go.
Yeah.
Lewis takes it. There's a big rail, a lot of support for him. Lewis, let's see where he goes to with this. He's up to 30.6 million now. So he's added 50% to his stack without endangering himself, avoiding an accident with ace queen against aces. Very decent first hour of play from Lewis, I would say.
Yeah, he's got to be happy with that. I think there's probably about another 40 minutes left of that level. So if he can continue in that kind of form, you win tournament, don't you? If you keep picking chips up, adding 50% to your stack every hour, it's not a bad place to be.
The beautiful thing, it's non-emotional, it's non-high risk. He's not, putting his stack at risk. He's past Holzner now on 24.3 million. Hutchinson is next up on 38.7. So maybe this is a slowly catchy monkey type situation. And I'm pretty sure, that's a game that Lewis can play, providing he doesn't get unlucky somewhere along the way.
Here's to logging on in the morning and seeing him in the final four, then I guess.
Yeah, well, it'd be nice, right? It would be very, very nice. I mean, I'll probably take the iPad up to the room and maybe watch this for another hour or so. But inevitably at some point, there's always a quick go to PokerNews in the morning to see, whether there are any goodies left. And, we haven't said a lot about Hutchinson. He's been pretty quiet.
I was just about to say that. I don't recall him being in a single hand.
He's lost a couple of chips, nothing too much. I mean, he's down to 38.7. I think he started on 41, but I think that's just a sign, as you said, of the blinds going through once or twice.
Mm-hmm. Because even though they are the blinds they are pretty damn big, aren't they?
Brutal, absolutely brutal. I mean, amazing structure, and of course 2-hour levels are going to be super, but at a point you can't just sit there, because I think mentally it begins to hurt you as well if you're not getting involved. You're putting too much pressure on yourself in individual hands, whereas Lewis got involved with a couple of lesser hands, and he's controlled the pot. It's all been very, very calm.
Like I say, slowly catching monkey. He'll be happy at that, like you say, not low risk at the moment. It carries on like that, then we will be waking up in the morning with him
absolutely
flying high. So
Well, I think, Matt, why don't we call it at that? So a good first hour for Lewis. I'm sure you'd all agree out there, guys and gals. You know, keep watching. We're going to cut this here, but yeah, I guess at 6, 7 in the morning, whatever time it is you get up at, we'll find out whether we have one or two Brits in the top 4. It would be lovely to see them both get through. You'd have to say Lewis has a little more momentum, if less chips, at this moment in time. So let's see. Matt, thank you for joining. Lovely to have 2 hours with you. Yeah, really went by super quickly. And don't get up too early. What does early look like for you tomorrow morning?
Well, I'm taking the missus to work at 6:30. So
get to bed, lad. Get to bed. It's time.
So yeah. So I do like to have an hour messing around on Facebook and Reddit and Leeds United forum and stuff before I go to bed. So
yeah, let's get doing that then.
And then just get all full of coffee then after that.
Ooh,
in the morning.
Brilliant. Well, thanks to Matt for joining us tonight, guys. Lee and I will be back on Sunday night, and I guess we'll do a bit of a wrap up from Vegas. It'll certainly be really interesting to hear of Lee's 2.5 weeks in Sin City. I don't think the poker went too well, but I think he had some good times elsewhere. So we'll find out about that. But other than that, let's hope next week we're talking about Brit winner of the World Series of Poker main event. We will see. Good luck to Jamie O'Connor in the 6 Max, doing phenomenally well at the moment. And there's a ton of other both APAT players and Brit players playing in big events tonight in Vegas. So keep an eye on PokerNews.com both tonight, tomorrow morning, to see how they get on. So we shall let you go now, guys. Enjoy your top 10 tourneys all next week. We'll get back to talking about the leaderboard from next weekend, of course. And until then, have a smashing week. Cheers, guys.